Hey guys, welcome back to the Glory Living channel. My name is Hannah and today we are talking about garden planting. Although there is snow on the ground at my house, and I'm guessing at your house too, it is actually time to start thinking about spring. Although this colder weather has us doing a lot inside, like baking, cooking, sewing, and things like that, it really is the perfect time right now to be thinking and planning for spring, for your garden. If you want to do an early spring garden, certainly it is time to start thinking about that. But even just a normal late spring throughout the summer gardening season that most gardeners participate in, then it is time to even start thinking about that. Around where we live in East Tennessee, most things go into the ground around May 15th. But that doesn't mean that it's not time to plan ahead and to also start thinking about buying seeds or buy seeds right now and start thinking about how to start those seeds. If you're new to gardening, or even if you've been gardening for a long time, I want to share with you some of the things that I do in order to plan out my garden for the year, and also some of the places that I buy my seeds from and how I kind of figure out and go through my thought process for seeds and plants and what I want to grow. Everybody's garden is going to look different, so I want to give you some tips that can apply to everybody and then just share a little bit about what I'm doing. In further videos, I want to talk more about seeds and kind of inform you guys the difference between hybrids, heirlooms, things like that. And I'll share more detailed list later on what I'm going to be planting in our garden. But I want to give you some tips and just a little bit of information about what I do to give you some ideas and to give you a jumping off point. So let's get started. Two great tools that I think every gardener needs besides like a shovel, a rake, a tiller, anything like that. Not talking about those types of tools. You need a notebook that you should keep for all your notes. And guys, you want graph paper. Graph paper is a friend, whether you are drawing up plans for building, whether you are trying to map out the space that you can use, you're going to want graph paper. I also have a notebook. This thing is a little bit beat up, but I keep my notes in it and I plan out what I'm going to be growing, how many I'm going to be growing. And what's great about a planner is not just so you can plan out a list to keep your head straight for now, but so you can write things that have already happened. For example, one of the great tools of a notebook, and this is something that my mom taught me about gardening that I think is really, really important, and I'm wishing I had taken it more serious last year, is that you write down the things that you grew last year and write down your notes about how it went. If you are a serious gardener who wants to garden for years, then you are going to change what you grow. You're going to try different varieties, and some of them you're going to like, and some of them you're not going to like, and some of them are going to do great, and some of them aren't going to do great. You might grow a pepper that everybody loves, and you don't like the flavor. Guys, if you have a large garden, you think you'll remember that. You won't remember it, okay? If you have kids, life, spouses, whatever, jobs, guys, there's so much in the world to remember in our lives. And honestly, like the varieties of tomato, I love gardening and I still was forgetting things that I did last year. You think you'll remember, but you won't. So it's super important to take really good notes. And the reason why this is so precious is that if you keep this notebook and you keep it up to date, at the end of the season, you can write down, okay, so we grew, I'm just gonna make up some numbers. Say you grew 10 tomato plants. How many pounds of, you can measure and weigh your tomatoes. How many pounds of tomatoes did we get? How many cans of salsa did we end up getting? Or how many jars of sauce did we end up getting? And you can take notes. And the reason that's so important is because you might go, oh my goodness, I grew too many cucumbers like we did last year. Or you might say, I didn't have enough tomatoes. And it helps us plan for the next year. The way these two tools work together is that what I would recommend doing is laying out the space that you have. If you're in an apartment, then write down how many buckets you're gonna grow in. If you have a small yard and you're just doing raised garden beds or things like that, then draw out on graph paper how large those are and the space that you have. This gives you a visible type of map that you can draw of where you can plant your plants so you don't overcrowd things, and so also you utilize all your space the best you can. I have already started mapping out our large garden, our 30 by 40 garden. You can map it out, draw it out on your graph paper, and split up your rows or however you want to grow it. And once you do something like that, you can write down in your notebook how many of each plant you want to grow. And just using these tools together is really, really helpful. And taking notes, like I said, in your notebook of what you want to grow, what you grew last year, what worked, what didn't. And if you can have it out out on a visually mapped out piece of paper, it helps you to be able to put like companion plants next to each other in order to figure out what might, overshade things, or what might protect things, or what needs water if you're on a slope, things like that. You can really think it through, and you don't have to just hold it all in your head and remember it, but you can draw it out on a piece of paper. And guys, I think that is a total game changer. We don't have raised beds right now, but if we had a house that we owned and had raised beds, one of the things that I would consider doing is mapping that out on a piece of paper, and then even laminating, like getting a nice sheet where it's drawn out or computerized and laminating that. So each year I could write on an Expo marker if I wanted to rotate things. If you want to rotate your crops at all, then it's sometimes easier to have something mapped out like that on paper so you can remember, okay, what did I do last year and what am I going to do this year? Okay, last year I had my tomatoes here, but now I want to change where they are this year. If you want to do that, I think drawing it out really helps. So as far as garden planning, one of the first things you want to do is figure out, how much space do I have? Growing in buckets, how many buckets do I have? Raised bed gardens, how many plants can I fit in each raised bed garden? If you're just growing in the ground, figuring out how many rows you want to grow of food, if that's how you're going to grow them. When you figure out how much space you have, then you can have realistic expectations of all the things you want to grow. If you only have 5 buckets, you are not going to be able to grow 20 different things, okay? You need to figure out how much space you have first, and then you can jump into all the different things you want to grow. On that note, even if you have a small amount of space, you can still grow a ton. If you have not checked out our video about growing in buckets, check that out. It can hopefully be encouraging to you if you don't have a lot of space. Anyways, moving on to the garden planning. Next on your garden planning, you're going to want to figure out, what do you want to grow? And some of this has to do with obviously where you live. If you live in a climate like ours in East Tennessee, there is tons that you can grow. So just figure out where you are in the country, and that's going to determine what you are able to grow. What varieties will even do best. But first off, have realistic expectations for your climate, for what you're going to grow. But then also, what do you like to eat? What do you like to look at if you're going to grow flowers? What do you have space for? And honestly, what do you want to try growing? I don't think there's any harm, even if you don't really like to eat something, but you really have always wanted to try growing it, to grow it and to give it away. We're growing a lot of basic things like tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and herbs and corn and watermelon, potatoes, things like that. Also, figure out what you can grow and use together. If you want to make salsa, then you're going to figure out what goes into salsa that I can grow instead of buy, especially if you're making a lot of it. What goes into tomato sauce? Figure out, is that something that I'm going to grow? Is that something I'm going to buy? You need to figure that out. Most things like salsa, okay, that's tomatoes, onions, peppers, hot peppers, okay? So, and then some herbs, right? And so you're going to figure out, do I want to just buy some of that, or are there things in there that I'm going to use enough that I could grow a plant and it would be cheaper? You might find that growing jalapenos, even buying a jalapeno plant, is probably cheaper than buying all the jalapenos that you would end up using in a couple batches of salsa. So think all of that through. Think about, at the end of it all, at the end of the harvest, at the end of everything I make, what do I want to have on my shelves or in my freezer? And then that'll also help you figure out, what exactly do you even want in your garden, and realistically, what does my family eat? All right, so moving on to getting your plants. If you do not know of a really good nursery locally for you, that is something you want to do a little research on. If you don't feel comfortable or don't feel like you have the time or energy or desire to start seeds at your house, then you're going to want to have a good plant nursery. Now, you can pick up plants at big box stores like Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, Tractor Supply, places like that, but you can also find local nurseries. Don't be fooled if you're a new gardener. Not all nurseries are created equal. Some of them are way more expensive than others. So shop around, do a little research. If you like gardening, just go have fun and check out the different nurseries and look at all the beautiful plants that they're growing and just kind of see the price comparisons. Ask a gardener you might find that there are better deals locally. Some people even sell seedlings at farmers markets. So just check around and ask the locals, if you don't know, where you can get good established plants. Just know that if you have a personal desire to stay away from GMO plants, that sometimes the nurseries do sell those, and they're allowed to sell those. Your seeds, you don't have to worry about that. Just a small home gardener really doesn't have access to GMO seeds from a regular store or seed seller online. That, as far as I know, is really reserved for only the big, large farmers can have their hands on the GMO seeds. So if you're starting from seeds, you're much more safer from that, but just be aware that you may not be thinking about that. If you really want to stay away from GMO plants, then it's good to just kind of ask your local nursery about which ones are and which ones aren't, if that's something you're concerned about. If you're like me, then you love to start seeds, and I love to start seeds. Every once in a while, I'll buy a few plants here and there, but I have found that it's much more cost effective long term. Sometimes starting off, it can be a little bit more, but I think it's more cost effective if you're growing a lot of plants to start them from seeds, and we grow a lot of plants. So I'm going to share with you the places I like to buy seeds from. One place that I have loved and that is a little more pricey, but I really enjoy, is Johnny Select Seeds. They have a lot of great options, especially hybrid options. They have more of. I really like Johnny's. They're a little more pricey, so I don't get everything from there, but this is one of the places that I like to go to for certain things. Another great and classic place to get your seeds from is Baker Creek. They do exclusive heirloom seeds, which I absolutely love that they do that. So they are another really, really great place to find seeds, and they have free shipping. So to me, Baker Creek is one of the most affordable places to get your seeds, and you're getting heirloom seeds, and they have a really huge selection of all sorts of types of seeds. So Baker Creek is another place that I have ordered from in the past and currently am ordering from this year to get more seeds. Another one that I've ordered from last year is Seed Savers Exchange. They also specialize in heirloom seeds, so another great place to find heirloom seeds. Other places that are really great that have online websites, one that I just ordered from is Seeds and Such. They are another good one and affordable as well. And guys, there are so many different seed companies out there that you could order from. As well, you can just go into, once again, like I said, a big box store and find sales on seeds as well, whether that's Home Depot or Lowe's. You can also go find seeds there, and they'll have heirloom and organic varieties as well if that's something that you're interested in. If you plan on starting your plants from seed at your house, that is one of the reasons why you want to start thinking about this now. Although, like, our planting day is May 15th. Anything past May 15th is considered safe, and that's time to plant. The problem is that if you're starting to buy seeds, there are seeds that actually need to be started 6 to 8 weeks before they go into the ground. And if you want to make them even a little bit bigger, you might even start them a little bit earlier than that. So if you are doing that, then you really, when you think about it, even 6 to 8 weeks, you have to be ahead 2 months ahead. So that means that 2 months ahead of time, your seeds have to be going in a planned place in your house. You don't want to be scattered and running around at the last minute trying to start your seeds, or have really, really tiny seeds that you're hoping will make it in the ground. You want to give your plants the best start so you can have the largest and longest harvest time. So that is why you want to really get ahead of the game. I also just like to have my seeds on hand and feel like I am ready to go. I've already ordered some seeds for this year, and I'm going to order some more in the next few days, Lord willing. But I also want to show you what I have as well when I do, how I keep my seeds and how I keep them organized. Once you start buying seeds, you're gonna need a way to store them. And you know, there are lots of different methods that people have out there. Some people like to store theirs in binders, and you can even put them in, like, if you have like a photo album, in those small slots where the pictures would go. My concern is that if that gets wet or humid, you're gonna have like mold growing in that. And I've seen people have that issue. I have mine just in the special box. My mom had purchased this for me. It was a really nice gift. And this is what I keep my seeds in. So it's just a nice box, has a magnet on it, and I open it up and all my seeds are in there. And I used to have them in alphabetical order, but they've gotten a little bit out of that. But this is a great way of just keeping all my seeds in here, and you can see just my collection here. And that's how I keep all mine. It's nice and safe and organized. It's just in this pretty box. And that's what has worked well for me. Just find a real safe spot to keep them all organized. Otherwise, you're going to have seed packets all over the house, losing what you've bought. And it's really good to just keep them all in one spot so you can stay organized and know what you're doing. So once you have figured out what you want to grow, another thing that you want to keep in mind is if you're starting seeds indoors, and maybe even think about this before you purchase seeds, is do I have a good place to start seeds in my house? And so one of the things about the house that we are currently renting is there is no good spot in a window to start seeds. In our last rental, there was a breakfast nook that got so much sun. It was perfect for seed starting. This one, although this is such a great house, it is not great when it comes to lighting. So last year we had seedlings all over the place, and we had grow lights. I mean, Jimmy rigged like crazy. This year I am changing up a few things, and I have better ideas for how to hang the grow lights. And we have a mini greenhouse outside, which is going to really help towards the tail end. But last year we had seedlings all over the place, because even though our house is smaller and our lot that we rent is small, where we grow, we have a lot of space. So we had a lot of seedlings. So something to keep in mind for you. I start my seedlings, and I'll do a video about this in very soon about how to start seedlings, but I start my seedlings, the type of pots that you can get, the seedling starters like at Home Depot that have the 72 cells in them, and they have a tray underneath to get started. You can start them in there. You could start them in little paper cups. You could start them just in, aluminum baking sheets that you sprinkle all the dirt in there, and just start them separately and pull them out. Be careful of roots, but for things like onions especially, that would be perfect. But you could do whatever you want and whatever you can afford to do that. Don't let all the fancy pants stuff that you see online hold you back. Don't think I have to have these perfect pots in order to seed start, and I have to do this and do that. Try and keep it low key as much as you can, while also giving your plants the best chance of success. So if you want to start seeds, make sure you keep in mind to have a plan for where you'll put those seedlings so they get enough light, whether that's natural light or whether you're going to hang a grow light, how you're going to hang that grow light, and just the little equipment for watering and things like that. And make sure wherever you put them in your house that you have good airflow, because if they don't have good airflow and they get too moist and are not evaporating that water out, you're going to give your little seedlings a disease before you get started. So just make sure you have good airflow. You don't have to go crazy, but sometimes a light fan or just a place with really good circulation can be really helpful for those seedlings. But we'll talk more about that when I teach you how to start seeds. Guys, I cannot wait for gardening season to begin and for us to start seeds. We are so excited around here. We love the garden, and I know that my kids are already ready to be back out there and to be picking beans and eating the beans and cutting open watermelon. We've been talking about that even recently with them. So I am so excited, and I'm sure you guys are too. So yeah, get a notebook, get some graph paper, start thinking about your seeds. Check out some of those resources that I shared with you, and just look around at the seeds and see what you like and what you're interested in. Look forward to our videos. We're going to be talking about the difference between hybrids and heirloom seeds soon, and also how to start seeds indoors and give you some tips on that. So all coming to you very soon. And so if you're interested in those, stay tuned. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope it was helpful to get you kind of on the right track for planning out your garden this year. And guys, if you enjoyed the video, please like it, please share it with your friends and family, and as always, please subscribe to the channel. It is the best way to support us and what we're doing, and it'll keep you up to date on all our videos that are coming out. And hit that bell so that way you'll be notified as well. Thank you guys so much, and until next time, we'll see you soon.